people on the planet. There are 21 million of these coins. It's a very sound form of money. As more and more people come to see, I should save in this money, the price is going to go, in my opinion, much higher. I mean, I think we'll hit 100,000, then I think we'll hit 1 million, then I think we'll ultimately hit $10 million a coin. I mean, I'm sure my grandkids will be shocked at people who own one whole coin. I mean, being a whole coiner will be a big deal.
Larry Lepard predicts that Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000 by 2024 before going on to hit $1 million and then on to $10 million. For those that don't know him, Larry Lepard is the managing partner and founder of Equity Management Associates, which has tens of millions of dollars currently under management. In his latest interview with Kitco, Larry lays out his Bitcoin prediction for not just this year, but 2024 and beyond, and he is extremely bullish. Highlighting the adoption curve of Bitcoin combined with the collapse of the US dollar, Larry suggests that in terms of adoption, the time it took Bitcoin to go from 0 to 10% user penetration will be the same time it takes to go from 10 to 90% penetration, which will happen over the next 10 years. He believes this will cause explosive price action for an exponentially adopted asset which has a fixed supply. Keep in mind this is a sophisticated institutional grade investment fund founder speaking like this, so it's clear to see the Bitcoin narrative is spreading. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where I will break down Larry's outlook. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind.
It's impossible to know exactly where it's going to go. I mean, we hit 67 in the last peak, 67, 68, so we didn't make it to 100. And we hit 16 on this bottom. But if you kind of look at the pattern, you look at how far it tends to go off the bottom of the pattern, it would strike me that the next run ought to take us to about 100. And that would probably be sometime within the next 2 years. And then that 100 would probably correct down to 40, we're higher than it is today. And then the 40, wave up from there might take us to, I don't know, 200, 250, something like that. I mean, it's, it tends to go in waves. I mean, we've seen these cycles since it was formed. I mean, these were at much smaller degrees, but I mean, it went to 1,000, then it went back down to 200 or 300. I mean, I bought it at 17,000 in Thanksgiving of 2017 and went down to 10, then it went down to 3,500, and I bought more. But so it's quite volatile, as we've seen. But that you've got two things going on here that support it. One, you've got an adoption curve. I mean, I was involved in investing in the internet. Reminds me a lot of the internet. More and more people are becoming aware of it. More and more people are using it. The second thing you've got going on is you've got this underlying thing that's driving gold as well, which is the monetary debasement. So you've kind of got two trends that push it. One, just more and more people use it, and you really need to read a little bit about that. I highly recommend a book by Alex Gladstein called Check Your Financial Privilege, which tells you the story of how people are using it around the world, how the unbanked are using it. All you need is a smartphone, and you can make lightning transactions. And there are poor women in Afghanistan doing technology work that couldn't figure out how to get paid. They're getting paid Bitcoin on their smartphone through the lightning network. And there are thousands of stories like that. Domestics working overseas, sending their money back in the form of Bitcoin so they don't have to pay the usurious fees to Western Union. So, these kinds of applications, or we call them use cases, are going to spread the development of this thing as time goes by. And, the fixed supply and the fact that, savings in this asset have tended to grow over time. If you take a 5-year perspective, there's never been a 5-year period where even if you bought at the peak, you weren't ahead. In fact, something on the web recently I saw that was very interesting. If you started buying Bitcoin at the peak at $68,000 a year and change ago, and you bought an equal amount between then and today, okay, every week, you just turned positive on your investments because it was 68, it went down to 16, and it's called dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging, yeah.
Right, and now it's at 30, and you're positive. You're net ahead, even though you started buying at 68. So and that's how I recommend people to do it. Actually, is to dollar cost average into it because it is volatile. There's no doubt. And I think within so is it 2023? I think by the end of 2024 we'll definitely be at 100,000. I'll write that in stone. Probably higher. I think by the way, at the end of 2024, I think gold will be well over 3,000, maybe 3,500 or higher.
And do you have an end of 2023 Bitcoin price
end of 2023
prediction?
for Bitcoin? What's it, 30 now? I guess at the end of the year, we'd be bumping up against the old high. We'd be kind of right at it, 67-ish, 68, something like that.
But you're not putting that in stone for me. You're putting 2024, 100,000 in stone?
Yeah, 2024, 100,000. I'll put that in stone. I think there's a high probability we're at 60 by the end of the year in Bitcoin. We're at 30 now. That's not that far out there. And I think there's a high probability we're at 3,000 in gold by the end of the year. And the reason I say this is I see the cracks in the financial system. I mean, I think if anything, both of those projections are probably too low. I mean, in other words, it's probably going to be higher than that, but I don't want to say a higher number and then I come up a little short and you say, oh, you missed it. There's a lot of things, right? I mean, it's something you use to buy coffee with, but it's also, let's break it into two big buckets. There's the exchange bucket, and then there's the kind of savings and asset bucket, okay? We all need money for exchange. You know, you need to pay for your gas, pay for your food, pay for your coffee, whatever. You got to pay your bills. That's the exchange function of money. And you know, you earn money and you turn around and you spend money. And so if its value fluctuates a little bit in that time frame, you know, big deal. It doesn't really matter. But then ultimately you've got your savings and your assets. And so you got to decide, where are you going to put those? And so, you know, I mean, if the government, if they say you got to pay your taxes in CBDCs, well, then I'm going to have to briefly own some CBDC to pay my taxes. Okay, fair enough. But I'm not going to save in CBDCs because it's something they can print to excess. And so, you know, the point I guess I'm trying to make is, I think the intelligent people in the world, and ultimately most people get the joke and realize that, you know, that fiat currency is losing value consistently. And as that trend grows, people will go to Bitcoin. They'll go to Bitcoin, they'll go to gold, they'll go to property. Anybody, I mean, nobody's going to be stupid enough to buy bonds from a set of governments that have proven that they can't manage the currency correctly. So I think CBDCs could very easily be a parallel system to gold and Bitcoin as savings technology in a way. CBDCs, you would immediately, if I were paid in CBDCs, if they forced the whole world into CBDCs, I would immediately exchange. There'd be a CBDC gold exchange rate or a CBDC Bitcoin exchange rate. I'd immediately change it and I'd save in the hard currency. That's just Gresham's law. And I think, you know, again, unless they outlaw or massively tax the alternatives, you know, the system they've got, and this is why they're trying to block the exits. This is why they don't want, you know, the choke point came around as a result of the fact that they don't want people exiting their system, right? They don't want you to go to the safe haven of Bitcoin. They don't want you to go to the safe haven of gold. You know, they shit on them every chance they get. And yet, you know, we all know that we can't trust their currency to hold value because of the way they behave. And we know that for a fact, and that's only going to get worse. And really the only thing, Michelle, that standing between us and hyperinflation is everybody coming to the conclusion that I've come to, which is that these currencies are doomed. And so as a result of that, yeah, do I hold dollars? Of course I hold dollars. I need to pay my bills.
Right.
But, you know, every asset, I mean, I get paid a certain amount of money, I pay my bills, I have something left over, the leftover goes into gold or Bitcoin. Yeah, sure. So Malcolm Gladwell had a theory that said that, and he looked at a lot of developments, historical developments of technologies, you know, autos, washing machines, cell phones, computers. And what it says is the amount of time it takes from 0% penetration to 10% penetration of the population, the number of years that takes, then in turn, the next set of that number of years gets you from 10% to 90%. So, you know, in this case, in the Bitcoin case, it was, you know, 14 years old. And I think we estimate that about 10% of the world, or 10% of the, you know, the first world owns Bitcoin or is involved in Bitcoin in some form. And so, and certainly more than that are aware of it, but I'm talking about people who've actually bought some. And so if it took 14 years to get to 10%, the theory is it would take another 14 years and 90% of the world would own some Bitcoin. If it really is the technological innovation that I believe it is. And so, you know, that would imply that we're going to go through a very big growth curve here. And, you know, you've got this is, as a commodity, Bitcoin is, there's a fixed supply. There are only 21 million of them. It's the only, this is very interesting. It's the only commodity in the world where supply does not go up as a result of higher prices. Think about it. If gold goes to $10,000 tomorrow, we're going to mine more gold. There's just no doubt, right? Because we know where it is. It's just not economic to get it out of the ground. Whereas if Bitcoin goes to $100,000, you know, tomorrow, there's not going to be any more Bitcoin created. So that's a very powerful thing. And so, you know, there's 7+ billion people on the planet. There are 21 million of these coins. You know, it's a very sound form of money. As more and more people come to see, you know, I should save in this money, the price is going to go, in my opinion, much higher. I mean, I think we'll hit 100,000, then I think we'll hit 1 million, then I think we'll ultimately hit $10 million a coin. I mean, I'm sure my grandkids will be shocked at people who own one whole coin. I mean, being a whole coiner will be a big deal.
So there's Larry Lepard with his Bitcoin prediction, first to $100,000, then onto $1, then $10 million. And this isn't coming from any Joe Schmo either. Larry Lepard is a sophisticated institutional investor who shares these views. Slowly but surely, more people are waking up to the debasement of currency and looking for alternatives, and 2023 has shown that Bitcoin is now being looked to as that flight of safety, safe haven asset. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's too outlandish like previous calls in 2021 were for $100,000 Bitcoin? Or with the Bitcoin halving coming up, combined with the banking crisis, will push Bitcoin over the line to $100,000 plus? Let me know in the comments. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.